start this recording.
Yeah.
All right, Josh, welcome. It's really good to have you here, mate.
Hey, thanks, Brett. Exciting to be here.
Yeah, so, mate, what we're going to talk about today is models and taking all this wild information that our authors are kind of working on and using it in all sorts of interesting ways. But there's probably a few people here that don't know you from Adam. So Tell us about you. I know that's hard to believe, right?
Yeah.
But tell us about you. Where are you in the world? Tell us a bit about your business. Give us the 5-minute update.
Okay, I am in Pascoe Vale, in Melbourne, in Australia at the moment, sitting in my home office, which I work very hard to make sure that I commute as little as possible. And what I do is I help experts convert their genius into world-class training programs. It doesn't matter if that's a speech, if it's a one-day workshop, if it's a webinar series, if it's a 3-year program, just extracting your IP, building content architecture around it, building signature systems, and converting it into amazing user experiences for those people in your program. Yeah.
Right, so there's a lot of, every time I talk to you, I go, wow, there's so much behind what you just said there.
Yeah.
So there's like storytelling, there's mental maps, there's metaphors we've been talking about.
Yeah.
What goes into that? Like when someone comes to you, they must just come with a head full of ideas.
Yeah, look, let me start. Let me tell you my origin story. Okay, my origin story is this. On the day that I received my year 12 results, I walked at home and I said, hey, Mum, I got 95 out of 100. So I'm in the top 5% of the state. And Mum's jaw hit the ground. She was like, you did no work. You didn't do any work for the entire year. And suddenly you're telling me you're in the top 5% of the state. I'm like, yeah, I just worked extremely smart, Mum, not hard. What I'm amazing at, I'm terrible at reading books, terrible. But what I'm amazing at is working with experts and like stripping out their genius. So I just found all the smartest kids and was like, dude, I've got an hour and I want you to help me get a 90% on this exam. And I would just rip it from their head. It was great for them because they learnt more in the process. It was great for me because then I could just like cheat.
2 hours work instead of 14.
That's right. Didn't work for me really well at university because it's a poor strategy. But for year 12, it was amazing. And then I just became sort of captivated with learning. I went to uni, did a bunch of, got a couple of degrees I don't use. Science, but I've got a scientific brain. I'm like, what's the best, most efficient way to get this result? How do we clean out all the guff and just find that, that 20% that makes the 80% of the difference? And I'm just on a constant pursuit for that. Love working with experts because, they're amazing people and I want to constantly learn and I just speed the process up.
Yeah, I love that story. If only I'd known that in year 12, that would have made my experience completely different.
I did go and seek out people who are amazing at this though. So
that's a great strategy in itself.
Yeah, and then I just ripped it out of them as well. It's very, it's an ongoing thing.
Yeah, fantastic. But also really relevant for our book writers because, they've got a head full of knowledge and it's like, really when we work with them, the first game plan is about getting from spaghetti head to bullseye. And okay, so now we know what we're going to talk about. But and I guess I want to ask you a few questions around if you're thinking from an author's perspective, and we're specifically talking about how do you turn that information into something, a map that other people can see and read and understand.
Right.
Tell me your perspective on that, because I sort of go, oh, let's make a model or let's make a worksheet, and you instantly say, well, actually, what you're talking about is taking that data and turning it into a process. Tell me a bit about that.
Oh, framework.
Yeah.
Well,
I knew I got it wrong there.
Yeah, that's all right. What makes me a really great person to work with? I feel like I'm selling myself. Why I'm such a great IP unpacker is because I am both the smartest and the stupidest person in the room simultaneously. Like, I'm really quick to get stuff, but if I don't get stuff, I'll be like, I don't understand, right? Yeah. And if I don't understand, and I'm a pretty smart dude, you got to recognize that there's going to be a lot of people in the world who then won't understand.
Yeah.
Like, you need to make stuff so simple that you can explain it to an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
So this is when I'm constantly...
Even if it's complex, deep knowledge.
Oh, absolutely. You can explain anything at any level of depth.
Yeah.
right? And so it's when you're, and it's like the iteration of knowledge. How do you give people the right amount at the right time so they get that piece before you give them the next piece? Yeah. When I see trainers and I see book writers and I see experts, they just go, all of my expertise at once, and people just go, they get fire hosed.
Yeah, yeah.
Versus, who was I talking to? Taki. I'm like, hey, just try this tiny little morsel and tell me what you think. That's delicious. I want more of that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah. A better learning outcome.
That's right. So structure your training like you would a good meal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Start with the amuse-bouches.
But what's really interesting about that is that probably the biggest, the objection or the hurdle that almost every single author has to come up against is that sense of, am I smart enough to be writing a book, or am I an imposter? Am I pretending to, how do I prove that I'm clever enough? But in fact, what you're saying is, if you just let everything out to try and prove that you're clever, that's actually not going to be a good learning outcome.
No. People will go, cool. And they'll either step back slowly, or that's okay because at least you go, this is not working. Or what's worse is they go, oh yeah, I get it, but they get it here and they don't get it here.
Yeah. So back in year 12, is that where you started with models?
Oh, doing models. Yeah. When people
how did we go from there to now you're running this entire coaching business?
Right. So let's talk about visual models, right? So one of the skills that I use is visual models. Like everything that anyone explains to me, I want to be able to draw a visual representation of it. A picture tells 1,000 words, right? We are, from the day that we are born, taught to recognize things in shapes and simple maps. Yeah. So I think of models as maps. They show you how to navigate the territory.
Right.
So
whatever your expertise is, these are a map to take someone who's like your 8-year-old who doesn't know anything about it and take them deep into this expertise.
A map isn't the landscape. A map's not true. It just shows people how to, it shows a zoomed out picture, how to basically navigate the landscape. Like if you think about a map, it's like, you open it up and you go, that's a road, that's a river, that's a church.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's not actually the church.
No, it's not actually the church. It just shows you that about there will be a church.
Yeah.
So when you're in the landscape, you go, oh, look, there's that church that Brett talked about.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm terrible at taking notes. And at school, I would doodle. So I'd take a few notes and then draw pictures to show how things connect.
Yeah. And so is the recall from that kind of thing much, much better?
Oh, yeah. Oh, look, if it's well designed, yes, way, way better. Because what you're doing is you're reducing all of the information into just the most important pieces. Now, people can only remember 5 to 9 chunks of information at any one time. Yeah. And you need to do 2 things. One, you need to figure out what is the most important 5 to 9 things.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, and that's the data. That's
the data.
9 things I'm going to teach them.
And if you have more, you need to separate into 2 things or work at 2 logical levels. So you're constantly thinking maps in maps in maps in maps. Just like you can zoom in on Google. There's a map, and as you zoom in, you get more distinctions.
Yeah.
And as you zoom in, you'll get more distinctions. So there's models and models and models.
Yeah. So most experts I know, and when I'm talking to the book guys, they're like, what do you mean we're going to draw a model? Why do we want to do that?
Circles, triangles. You don't need to be able to draw to do visual models. Literally, it's shapes.
Now, we were talking before we started recording about the map of model, or the model of models.
Yeah.
I wonder if you can take us through that a little bit, because I think that'll give people a sense. Because my understanding was you're saying, look, there are only so many ways to represent those information.
Yeah.
And so here's what are they, 5?
Yeah, just 5. Just 5. Can I share my screen with you?
Yeah, go for it, mate. Go for it.
Okay. So something that I learned is as you're sharing your screen, because it takes a little bit of time to do, you just explain what you're doing, or you keep talking throughout to keep people entertained.
Right. A little. While they're watching this hand, they're not watching that. What's really going on? Is that...
That's exactly what's happening. Cool. So here's the way I think about it. The purpose of a model is to very quickly get people on board with what you're saying. Like, so they go, oh, I basically understand the map of the territory, right? When it comes to models, what you're doing is you're showing the relationship between the parts that you're talking about. So if I'm talking about 5 things or I'm talking about 9 things, the purpose of the model is to show how they sit in relationship.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's the first thing, right? Clarify your ideas, recognize the relationship, then you want to draw that relationship. Now, there's only 5 types of relationship within which your data will sit relative to other pieces of the data.
Yep.
And this took me a while to figure it out. I'll just draw a better looking circle. Wait a second. And bang.
Oh, there we go.
This took me a while to figure out. I worked with a really smart guy named James Sakalis to do this, who was a trainer of mine for a while. I call this the high model 5 because it's kind of like the model of models, right?
Right. Yep.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When you're looking at your data, you need to determine, does my data sit in relationship to other data in a sequence?
Yep.
i.e., this, then this, then this, then this, then this.
Yep.
Is it an equation? Am I saying that when you have this plus this, you end up with something greater?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is it a spectrum? Am I talking about a point relative to 2 extremes?
Yeah. So
and those,
black, white, there's somewhere in between.
Yeah, and those extremes might be just 2 extremes like black and white where there's no bias, like, it's black or it's white.
Yep.
Or there might be a bias, bad to good.
Yeah, gotcha.
Right?
Yeah, value, some sort of value.
That's right, there's a value there.
Yeah.
It could be chunking.
Yep.
Right? Oh, I think I've drawn it down here already. There we go. That's funny. Chunking. And chunking is if you take something and you break it into its constituent parts.
Yep.
I.e., the model that I'm drawing at the moment is a chunking model because when it comes to models, there's just 5 types.
Yeah. Yep.
Or when it comes to cutlery, there's just knives and forks and spoons.
Yeah.
And forks and blades, whatever, but they're not real cutlery. We're talking about knives and forks and spoons.
Yeah.
Now, the difference between chunking and spectrum is like this endless sliding scale.
Right.
And yet there's not a bazillion pieces of cutlery in between a knife and a spoon. It's not like this. There's not like a lot of grey. It's a knife or it's a spoon. Like, so chunking is just the constituent parts. And then there is a scope model. And a scope model is pretty much, what are we looking at? Right. Like when I jump onto Google Maps and I talk, hey, I'm in Pascoe Vale and I want to get to the Athenaeum Theatre in the city, it will show me a scope of the landscape.
Right. Not the entire metropolitan area of...
Not the world. It'll just show me the bit that I need to focus on because it's relevant to me.
Yeah.
Cool. So when I'm designing models, what I tend to do is I look at my pieces and I go, well, what sort of model is that? Am I trying to explain a sequence or am I trying to explain an equation or a spectrum or chunking or scope?
Yeah.
And then once I know the type of relationship, well, I just choose the best model because I don't have to invent the models because other people have invented them for me.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what's an example of that? So what's an example of each of those?
All right. So let's go to sequence.
Recognise.
So a sequence would be, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4.
Yep.
Or it might be cyclical.
Yep, gotcha.
Right, 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then you go back to 1.
Yeah.
Or it might be like a flow chart where you can go here, but you could go off and do that thing for a while and then come back to here.
Yeah, but you do the first thing, then you do the next thing, then the next thing.
Yeah, so it's like 1 and 2 and 3, and there's probably 2A over there.
And so is a ladder a sequence or is that something altogether different?
It depends what you're trying to say with the ladder.
Right.
Because a ladder might be a sequence. You might say, you might have something like an ascension model, and, you might have someone who's crap, and then they're a bit better.
Yeah.
Then they're amazing.
Yeah.
Then they're like world class.
Yeah, gotcha.
And they move. However, you might have a model that's actually an equation model. So you might look at Lencioni's 5 dysfunctions of a team, and only when you have trust, you can move to you can move to having conflict.
Yeah.
So it's trust plus conflict plus you've got to be adding things. Because if you take trust away, it's not like you get trust and then you move into conflict. You need to maintain trust.
Yeah, gotcha.
So it's more of an equation model. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So you can't, on the sequence one, you can move through them.
Yes.
Whereas with the equation, you need to develop that skill, then add more skills onto it.
Yeah, that's an example. Like that is an example of a ladder in a equation. That's an equation ladder.
Right.
Now this is interesting because people go, "Oh, ladder equals sequence," and I go, "No, ladder could equal. A ladder could actually be a scope model."
Right.
I'll show you why. You could look at it from a 1-year perspective.
Yep.
You could look at it from a 90-day perspective.
Right, yeah.
You could look at a weekly perspective, and you could look at it from a daily perspective.
Right.
Because I think about scope, like if you flip this on its side, it acts a little bit like a telescope.
Yeah.
And you've got a 1-year filter, then a 90-day filter, and a weekly filter, and a daily filter.
Yeah.
And your daily should be seen through the lens of weekly, should be seen through the lens of 90, should be seen through the lens of year.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool?
Yeah.
Same shape, but I'm explaining a different relationship.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's
You're geeking out right now, aren't you? This is great.
Yeah. Oh, so much. So much. Yeah. Because it really needs to start with, I guess, what's the purpose of the information, or what's the best way to represent that information?
Step 1, get clean information.
Yeah, gotcha. Yep.
Clean.
Yep.
Right? Step 2, what's the relationship between the information?
Yep.
Step 3, find appropriate model.
Right. Okay.
I think I drew a model to explain my model. Give me a sec. I'll draw it for you.
Go on, show us.
I will. I've just got to open up a PowerPoint so I can look at my model. Honestly, I create 60, 80 models a day often.
Right.
Clients.
So it's obviously just the way that you understand information.
Yeah.
Is by creating a model out of it. And what I really like is, that picture really is worth 1,000 words.
Oh, absolutely.
In a book, you probably need that 1,000 words to get into it a bit, but probably the bit that people remember is like the Simon Sinek Start With Why model. Like he's got a whole book about it, but that one thing there says everything you need to say about it.
Yeah. Now, look, start with why. You could actually say start with why. Why is at the center. Or you could say start with why.
Right.
Or you could actually say start with why.
Right.
I don't know.
You can represent it any way you like. There's no way of doing it.
No, it's like what's the best way for you to start with why?
Yeah.
I think the answer. Let me show you. So here's what I would do when it comes to visual models. Here's the way I think about it. Yep. The first thing, step 1, you want to unpack. If this was a box. I'm a really bad drawer, by the way. I'm amazing at visual models. There is a graphic designer involved that makes my stuff look pretty. So this is your head. You want to unpack all of your IP, right? You want to unpack all of your intellectual property.
Get it out of that box and into
Get it out of the box. That's right. The second thing that you want to do is you want to distill it. So you want, like, I don't know, I could draw some little icon around, little science equipment distillery. Here's some fumes.
Yeah, I'm thinking winemaking, you need to crush the grapes and get the good juice out.
That's it. It looks a bit phallic at the moment. Sorry about that. I don't know. Not amazing. Let's imagine that these are test tubes. Okay, so we distill. So you distill it. So you get extremely clean on what it's going to be.
Yeah.
The word distill, American and English, Australian spelling is different. I can't remember if it's 2 L's or 1. Anyway.
As long as people vaguely understand, I'm okay with that.
Step 3, you want to build. Now imagine these are gears.
Yep.
You want to systemize your ideas. Work out what's the relationship between the ideas.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Step 4, is you want to choose, it's like you add form to the function.
Yep.
Right? You choose the best model. And is your model going to be sequence, equation, spectrum, chunking, or scope?
Yeah.
Which one is it? Right? And then you go...
And sort of, I guess, to a certain extent, there's a personal or a subjective element to that. It's like, which one makes most sense to me that I can explain it?
Yeah, often when I'm working with a client, I'll go, when you say start with Y, is it 1, 2, or 3? And they'll be like, it's 2. And I go, great, that's the one we'll choose.
Yeah, gotcha.
Because I don't know which one it is. I just come with the options.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah, got it. So that's the formula. Like, so to basically go from a head full of ideas to something that other people can really understand.
That's right.
Because what keeps coming back to me is that beautiful Einstein quote of, make it as simple as humanly possible,
Yeah.
but not simpler, right? Or the, really take this complex idea and bring it down into something simple and easy to, to map and understand.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, this is what it is. And when you put that on the page, like, let's say you had that on the page, and then on the next page, you go, great. So when it comes to unpacking IP, data.
Yep.
Got it? Cool. When it comes to distill, and they go, oh, distill comes after unpack, and it looks like this, and it's got the little phallic picture there. And then before systemize, data. And what it means is, using your model here, they can place the data in context relative to everything else.
Yeah.
And that is what is super duper important.
Yeah. So what do you, let me ask you about, when you see people who have written books and have kind of neglected this element of writing a book or training, or basically the book to me is just, it's actually that process. It's getting all your genius out of your head and into a form that other people can appreciate.
The way that give me 1 second, I want to show you something. See that?
Ah, gotcha.
That's what it looks like.
When you draw it really well.
When you draw it really well. Right?
Give it to a graphic designer.
Yeah. Now, what's interesting is people who are watching this video right now can go like, oh, I know that at the top what they're doing is you're unpacking the IP, and then we're distilling, then we're systemizing, then we're choosing, then we're drawing.
Yeah.
And every time I look at that from now on, recall.
Yeah, gotcha. In quite a lot of detail.
Yeah. What I've done here is I've matched shapes as well, and I've used icons to really fill out the model. So like, I've used the head with stuff coming out of it. The arrow shows directions. The icon is the reminder to distill. Yeah. The system icon, the different types of models, and then drawing the piece, right? So I've gone quite in depth here. But
but when you say scope, that could mean anything to anyone. But when you explain it, with that symbol, that icon, it comes back straight away.
That's right.
I remember your Google analogy and looking down on a map, and so
this is what we're looking at. Right. So this is a sequence model because I'm doing them in order. Cool.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Cool.
So I guess when you see authors or anyone and they neglect this part of the story, what tell us about that?
So what happens is, like, I have a fundamental belief that people can't sort data.
Right. Yep.
So it's like telling my child to put the shopping away. Have you ever asked a 7-year-old to put shopping away? It's a disaster.
Or a teenager, for that matter.
Right, that just stays on the bench.
Yeah, pretty much.
The 7-year-old will put like milk in the cupboard and butter will be in the freezer, and you're just like, what?
How do you not know that?
How do you not know that? But honestly, people don't know because they're not an expert like you. Now, you have these unconscious storage systems in your head. Yeah. And when you hand over data to somebody else, it's not just the individual things that you do. It's the beliefs that you hold around those things, and it's the relationship between the beliefs and the things that you do. And the relationship is just as important as the thing itself.
Right. So when a boss says, well, that's obvious, why didn't you just do it that way? Actually,
there's no such thing as common sense.
Yeah. Actually, they've got all these other elements that are feeding that. This is the right way you do it. Values, beliefs, systems.
Yeah. And if somebody doesn't understand you, it's not their fault.
Right.
It's yours.
Yeah,
you haven't explained yourself properly, unless they weren't paying attention. But if you just have pages and pages and pages and pages of words, that's crap.
Yeah.
Sometimes people use headings, like bold headings. That's a bit better, right?
It's only 1.1 better though, right?
That's right. And then they might have dot points. And now dot points reduce data, which is good. Sometimes it's not always great. Like if you're trying to...
But it's better than pages of... It's an iteration of pages of words.
If you're delivering data, like don't tell me a story in dot points. Yeah. As my wife says to me, Josh, stop telling me stories in dot points, right? stories, but when you're delivering data, so headings are good, dot points are good because you're refining information.
Yeah.
Just draw the damn thing. Show the relationship picture. People go, now I get context. I get relationship. And it's like you're giving them a series of boxes within which to store data. It's like I've gone to the fridge and said to my son, you see the sign that says milk? Put the milk on that shelf. You see the sign that says butter? Put the butter there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? It's a map.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess the thing is, if you're writing a book and you're assuming people have a base level of, assuming people know what to do with this, you're really setting yourself up to fail a little bit.
Can I tell you a story about that?
Yeah.
I will tell you a story about that. I was just asking for permission. So years ago, I used to work for a hospitality training company. We had all these trainers who were ex-chefs. I kicked them all out and hired all my old hospitality buddies. We used to teach this activity that we called bar prac. And we had a bunch of kids who were long-term unemployed or 18, trying to get into the hospitality industry, needed some rudimentary training.
Yeah.
And we had this first prac where we put them behind a bar for the first time, right? And they were like, what do I do? And when we first started training it, we'd go, okay, so what you have here is 7 different types of spirits. They're your primary spirits, the 4 whites and the 3 browns. And then you have 3 different types of glasses, highballs, whiskies and cocktails. Then you have ice. Then you've got 5 different types of mixes.
And by this point, they're just going, yeah.
And then we'd say, make me a vodka and tonic. And it would literally take 3 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
It was horrible. And I was watching, I sort of designed it, and then I watched my guys train it, and I was like, this is shit. This is horrible. Here's what we did. We said, all right, guys, you've got a few different sections here. These things are called spirits. They are called glasses. Yep. This is called soft drink. Yeah. That is called ice.
So group them.
Right. Chunking. This is a chunking map. Yeah. Take any glass, put any spirit in it.
Yeah.
Put any mixer in it, put garnish in it, put it on the bar.
Yeah. Yep.
Go. 20 seconds.
Oh, right.
Do it 15 times in a row. Bang, bang, bang. They were amazing.
Yeah.
Great fun. Crank the music, have a great time. Everyone's feeling confident. You go, great. Hey, do you guys see, this category called spirits over here? And they're like, yeah. And you go, do you want to learn what the different ones are? They're like, yeah.
Yeah.
You see these 5 soft drinks. Do you want to learn what they are? Of course.
Yeah.
Because they know how to do it at a higher chunking level. And then you zoom in and you go, cool, now there's different types of glasses, there's different types of spirits and different type of mixes. Can you make me a vodka and tonic? Great, 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Because we gave the information in 2 different logical level chunks at the right time.
So start off with that big picture, fewer chunks, and then get detail.
And then we had a little map on the bar that just had a picture of a glass, then an arrow, a picture of a spirit, a picture of a mixer, a picture of ice, and a picture of the garnish. And then they just followed it.
Yep.
Now, I also had next to it a written instruction that took about this much, like it was probably like 300 words, or I had a little picture. And I'll tell you what, they didn't read it.
They never read it.
They never read it. They didn't need to.
Right? What? Yeah.
That's how powerful it is.
Yeah, and I guess the thing is when you're writing a book, you tend to want to go into that deep detail first.
But for whom?
Yeah.
For them or for you?
Yeah.
Because I'm not saying don't go there, but
just saying don't go there first.
Yeah, don't go there first, and don't always show them everything.
Right. And I guess it's what we're talking about. If you give them the entree, the main, the dessert, everything all at once, it's all a bit like, whoa.
Yeah, they're cooked. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
This is fun, Brett.
I'm liking this. You've even got, what was that noise? That was I
think the house is on fire.
Police are coming to get you or something. That was good fun.
I don't get out enough for the police to come and get me.
It's they're bringing one of your kids back.
Yeah. Hey, can I show you something else?
Love to.
So we've got this. I might just share my screen again.
Yep.
Start broadcast. So that's one thing. That's like how do you go about designing the visual model? I guess
what we're talking about, as I think about it, what you're saying is, let's start with the end in mind. How do we get the very best result for the person who's consuming this information?
Oh, of course.
Right. And when I think about a book, there's a real flip when most people start to write a book, they're like, I've got all this gold to share with people.
Amazing. Yeah.
But and they because they're deep in it, they go, well, that's where the gold is. But actually, if we flip it and think, okay, if we've got an 8-year-old who doesn't know how to pack away bread and butter and milk, let's think about how we get them there. And what we're saying there is, okay, let's start with the high level context, then get into some detail.
This is dairy. This goes in the fridge. Yes. These are bread products. They basically go on that shelf.
And even though it may seem dead simple to you, the author, it's like imperative, isn't it? And in fact, your readers will probably go, that was mind-blowing. And you're thinking, wow, that was just the surface. Yeah,
but there was once upon a time for you that was mind-blowing.
Right. So you really got to step back and go,
let's... You've got to connect with that version of yourself.
Right.
Yep.
Which takes a bit of humility, I think, probably.
Yeah, park your ego. Like, here's the feedback you want.
Yeah.
These are, like, when it comes to training, I only ever want 2 pieces of feedback.
Yep.
I want, holy shit, Josh, when you put it like that, it's a complete no-brainer.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Right. Number 1, like, doing.
Yeah.
Piece of feedback number 2, I did that thing you told me to do, and I got the result you said I would.
Repeatability.
That's right.
Yeah.
And if I'm constantly getting those 2 feedbacks, sometimes they tell me I'm a nice guy or I'm fun to work with, or sometimes
especially good looking,
all that sort of
you
stuff.
Dance well.
But really, it's a no-brainer. I did it, and I got the result you said. That's all I ever want.
Right. And if I think about writing a book, that's exactly what we all want.
Yeah, make it a no-brainer.
Never thought about it like that. That is total no-brainer.
If you, this isn't my book. I just grabbed a book that was near me. This is a good book, by the way. That is a great book to read. If someone reads your book, what do you want them to do at the end of reading the book? I don't know, do my program? So they should read the book and then be like, oh, doing their program's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Or they finish reading your book and they go, oh, now, having a better conversation with my wife is so much easier now.
Yeah.
Right?
So they've got the result they came for. Yeah,
absolutely.
One of the other questions I get a lot is, can you give too much information away in your book? How much to hold back, how much to explain? Now, Personally, my personal opinion is give them everything. Everything.
Yeah.
Give it all.
Who said this best? I don't know if it was Taki Moore or whether it was Matt Church. They're both very smart dudes. They go, I've got 90 minutes. And I'm going to give you everything I can in 90 minutes.
Yeah.
So you've got 200 pages. You've got 20,000 words. I'm going to give you everything that I can in this much period of time. And then the moment that agreement stops, I will give you no more.
Yeah.
That's it. Sorry, we're in the 91st minute. I said 90 minutes. That's kind of the thing.
I gave you 200 pages.
That's it. Now buy my product.
Yeah. But I think that people are worried that they're going to give away this information.
Oh, no, then you're not trusting yourself as an expert.
Right. Yeah. Tell me about that.
You're an expert. It's limitless.
Right.
I'll say this with the utmost humility. I'm a freaking genius when it comes to this stuff. Yeah. And it would take me more than 200 pages to explain it all to you. It will take me
Thousands.
Oh my God, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I can easily give you 200 pages worth. And I just trust that there's more. And here's the thing. And I say this to people when I start working with them. And I had a conversation with a client recently. He was like, he's got this great model that he made. It is a brilliant, world-class, amazing model. He actually made it without me too. I was like, oh, dude,
bastard.
No, right? He came to me and was like, I've created this thing. I'm like, I want some ownership over it. I say that I helped him think in that new way.
There you go, yeah.
There's my ego, right?
He was trying to impress you, So.
Right. And he said, do I put this as part of my advertising, which means that anybody can look at it and
without paying for it. Yep.
That's right. My competitors can rip me off, blah, 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 blah. Yep. Or do I hide it inside of my program?
Yep.
Right? I said, here's what I reckon. You could hide it inside your program, but at the end of the day, your program's only $6,000.
Yep.
A competitor could pay $6,000 and steal your stuff, and then they'll launch it first and can pretend it's theirs.
Yeah.
So I say, be the first person to get it out there and stick your name on it.
Stamp your name all over.
Stamp your name on it.
Be known as the guy who did that model.
Yeah, absolutely. Be the person who gave them the model. People just go, that model changed my life.
Yeah.
That completely changed the way that I think about things. I had all of this, what did you call it? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
The squiggles in my brain, and you just made
the spaghetti brain. Yeah.
Spaghetti brain.
Yep.
One shape, and I went, I've spent 10 years trying to figure that out. And you drew a freaking picture,
In a minute. Yeah.
Give it to people because they'll get that, and then they'll come to you.
Yeah.
Give it away. There's always more. And if you exercise a piece and put it outside of you, you're just creating space for your next level of genius.
Right. Okay. I love that analogy because the opposite is to assume there's only a finite amount of knowledge there that you have, and put it all in a book. You've kind of emptied.
Look, very rarely do I come, and I'm so sorry to people who hear this and go, oh. Very rarely do I come across people who are geniuses because they're creating brand new stuff.
Yeah.
However, I come across a lot of geniuses who are geniuses because they make new distinctions and new ways of understanding and make it easier for more people to be able to access complex material.
Yeah. I think of it.
They show how all of these individual things fit together in a system, and it's actually the system that needs to be there for it to function. Yeah. That's most geniuses there.
Yeah. Because I think of it like, in filmmaking, there's this sort of acknowledgement that there are only 12 types of film, which are Shakespeare's 12 plays.
Yeah.
So every film you've ever seen is a variation of one of Shakespeare's plays.
Yeah.
But the genius is in the variation and the way.
Is Tarantino not a genius?
Right, absolutely.
A genius.
Yeah.
Because he's making new distinctions and new ways of putting things together inside of these frameworks.
Yeah, exactly. So it's that sort of same analogy too. Yeah.
And how many, make as many films or as books as you can.
There's an infinite amount.
Yeah. Your first book will be terrible. I'm so sorry. Your second book will be good.
But it'll be better than not doing the book.
Oh my God, infinitely better than not doing it.
Than having that head full of knowledge. That's
right. And it'll just, and often, and I'm working with a guy at the moment, and he wrote a book, and then we built a training program, and he's writing a second book, which is like the first book revisited.
Right.
And
next level, or?
Yeah, it's exactly the same stuff. It's just his ability to describe it is transcendent.
Yeah.
Same stuff.
Yeah. So I know you were going to show me something, and I probably got you sidetracked.
Oh, here's what we'll do.
The question I wanted to follow on from that after we've done this bit is that, okay, so you've written a book developing the program out of it.
Oh, yeah.
So let's just park that idea.
Okay.
While I stop sidetracking you and get back to what you were going to.
Oh, okay, right. Hey, can you share like a notability page with me?
Totally. Here we go. I've been making some notes as we go along, so let's do a nice little, nice clean extra page in there. There we go. Nice clean page.
Cool. When people are, let's say in your program, you've got 12 modules, right? So can you actually do 6 modules? Can you just draw 6 circles next to each other across the page?
Yeah. Oh, hang on. Now you've taught me.
You don't have to. Don't make them fancy.
I've learnt this new thing. Oh, that was a dud.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. How many we got? 4. Oh, yeah. Let's have the ugly one in between.
All right. 5, 6.
There we go.
Right. Now, for each of these modules, and let's say, actually, can you do me a favor?
Yep.
Let's say that what you want to do here is to give me a sec. I've sort of done a version of this somewhere, and I just want to find it. Sorry, I'm just opening up PowerPoint slides because I know I've explained.
I'll attempt to make my ugly circle not ugly anymore.
Let's say that in your system you have a handful of things. Let's say you're a salesperson, right?
Yep.
And the first thing you wanted to do was to get clear on your avatar.
Yep.
So
your ideal client.
Clarify niche. So
Yep.
can you call the first one clarify niche?
Yep.
And call the second one. So you've clarified your niche, who it is you're talking to.
Yep.
The next thing you would probably do here is to attract some leads.
Yep. Yep.
Then you would probably qualify prospects. And then you would probably convert to clients.
Yep.
Yep. And then you probably put them in the program or whatever and blah, blah, blah. The next few things happen.
Yep.
Right? Then you would probably onboard. Right?
Yep.
And then so you program on board, and then you probably set 90-day goals or something, right?
Yeah.
It's a pretty standard entry into a program. So when I've got something like this, what we have here is a bunch of metaphors, and I could add icons to these things.
Yep.
So I could go clarify niche. So how do you clarify? What be an icon or a metaphor for clarification? Like
glasses.
Yeah, it could be glasses, right? It could be glasses, or could be like a focusing thing.
Yeah, a loop.
Yeah.
A loop.
Yeah, a loop. Yeah.
Yep.
And attracting leads, magnet.
Yeah.
So
loop there. That's one of my old photographic loops. All right, so this one's a magnet.
Yeah, that's a magnet.
Yep.
Qualify. What would be for qualify? I'm thinking, are they like you could have a star? Like are they a 5-star prospect?
Yep.
Converting is like something like getting them over a bridge or
Yep.
Getting them over a gap. Yeah, right.
Yeah. A bridge. Yep.
Yeah, and then you could go like an onboard. What do you do to onboard someone? Is
they go through a ribbon. I'm thinking the boarding plank to a ship.
Yeah, boarding plank to a ship. I mean, that's sort of a literal sort of version of the metaphor.
Yeah. But
yeah, like what's the entry piece? Like an escalator or something like that. Like an escalator.
Yeah, or you could go entry.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Can I tell you something? I try to steer away from icons that also have words on them.
Ah, okay.
Right, because it's literally just another word. So I'd probably more go with the escalator.
Yep.
And then
how do I draw an escalator? Yeah, one of these.
Something like that.
Yeah.
You just go to like flaticon.com and then
and they'll sort it out for you.
They'll sort it out for you. And then you go set 90-day goals. Right.
Yep.
So here you could have like a plan, or you could have
trophy that you're going to get.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So when you build a process, rather than just going all of these words, you create a sequential sequence of pictures.
Ah, yep.
Yeah. And then from that point onwards, because you've anchored the word to the picture, later on, you can start talking about and drawing those metaphors to replace words.
Right.
There's that thing that you hate.
There it is, that little dialogue box. Welcome and goodbye.
Yeah, cool. So you can start to use icons to substitute for words.
Right. So and so when you're thinking, rather than qualify process, a bit like your bar guys, rather than think about all the 300 words, you're thinking the star.
Star equals qualify.
Yeah. And then do you build explain that in deeper detail by going, okay, well, we're going to take the star and work on that.
Then let's zoom into the qualified prospects, and you zoom into the star, and I'll show you how to do that. Yeah. Sometimes what you can do is, once you start zooming into this sort of process, what I sometimes do is people tell me things. Can you write down a sequence of words for me?
Yep.
Can you write down these words? Launch.
Yep.
Filter.
Yep.
Process.
Yep.
Focus.
Yep.
That'll do. Can you go down a space, like leave a blank under them and write down these words?
Yeah.
Launch, filter, process, focus, game plan.
Yep.
Blueprint.
Yep. Cool.
And leak.
And what, sorry?
Leak.
As in?
L-E-A-K.
Yep.
Cool. So if I ever call something like a launcher or a filter or a process or a focus or game plan or blueprint or leak, what I can do here, instead of choosing an icon, is choose shape, a circle, a square, or a triangle that best fits. So Brett, if I said to you, a launch, which direction does the launch go?
Which shape?
Which shape, which direction?
It's up. It's like a rocket ship.
Yeah, so I'd probably choose a triangle that goes up.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So you can have your triangle there.
Yeah. Your iPhone thing's popped up again.
My iPhone. Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
So a filter. Which shape is a filter?
All right. It's like a coffee filter. Like it's
so
the opposite of that, right?
Yeah.
So right. Yep.
Now a processes probably run left to right and is a triangle.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Generally, because we're Westerners, we think of process going from left to right.
Yep.
So it's probably a triangle if it was just one shape.
And does it matter whether it's, this way?
That looks backwards to me. That looks like it starts small and gets big.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but it might sort of start with a lot of information and become refined.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
It just depends on what the process is.
That's right.
Yeah.
This is a convergent process versus the other one being a divergent process.
Yeah, gotcha.
A focus. Like focus, what would be?
I want to say like a bullseye or a
yeah, it's like a bullseye, right?
Yeah,
it could be a bullseye, or it could also have like on a like a sniper rifle, it could have little lines coming off the top and the bottom as well. Like an X, like an X behind it, sort of thing.
What are we doing? So we're keeping the
keep that, and then just do a cross over the top of it, like a crosshairs.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I'd rotate those a little bit, but that's fine, right?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, I gotcha.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah, right? Focus. Cool.
Yeah.
Right. A game plan, for me, a game plan is like, a square thing that a coach writes on.
Yep.
A blueprint's not that different.
Yep.
Yeah.
So is that in boxes? Is a game plan in boxes or
it's very square for me.
Yeah. Yep.
What about a blueprint? A square, a circle, or a triangle?
Yeah, I reckon it's like a rectangle. I'm thinking like a builder's blueprint.
Yeah, it's a rectangle, absolutely.
Yeah, it's like that kind of deal.
And what about a leak?
A leak is like I think of a cylinder with a hole in it.
Could be, yeah. Could be a cylinder with a hole in it, or it could be just a triangle going down, or it could be...
Or as in this way, like the filter.
It could be like a filter.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So what I do is when I'm explaining something, if I've got a metaphor there, like a filter or a game plan or a launch, I just choose a shape that kind of fits it.
Yeah, got it.
Which is like the world's simplest icon.
Right. So what if this is the metaphor, what's the shape that best describes it?
Yeah, and when it comes to a metaphor, and we had a laugh about this before, it's a metaphor because when people say they're launching their book, what they're not actually doing is getting a slingshot and firing it up into the air, which they're not physically launching it. It's a metaphor for putting your book out to the public, right? It's not actually a launch.
Yeah. Yes, and you're not actually leaking
clients. They're not like, you're not jamming them in
dripping through the floor.
That's right. Yeah. It's a metaphor.
Yeah.
So And then what I sometimes do, if it's a process, I'll just put those shapes in sequence with each other. So
right.
so I'll take away first we filter the clients, boom, boom.
Yep.
Then we run them through a funnel.
So you'd be like, okay, so first we, launch the book, and there's X steps in launching the book.
Yeah. And then we'd attract some clients. So there might be a bit of a, something would happen, and then we would filter those clients.
Yeah. Well, you could even, you attract, you're kind of like you're looking out through the telescope.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And then you filter them into a pipeline.
Yeah. Make a game plan. Pipeline.
Make a game plan. Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah.
Cool.
And then these all and do these then become like that equation?
Yeah. You can actually just draw a little picture that shows how they all work with each other.
Right. This is where your model of models comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you can, my signature system goes, we launch the book, we write the book, we launch the book, we attract clients, we filter clients, we run them through a pipeline, we convert them, and then we onboard them into our program.
Right. Yeah. Gotcha. So that's that's almost like, bam, there's the signature system for the whole thing, which is because my book that I'm writing at the moment is called $1 Million Author, which is how you write a book and build $1 million business around it. That's what you're saying, the signature system for that.
They would be parts of what you do, I imagine.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So that's just another way to use some models, icons as well.
Yeah. Gotcha. And so what a lot of people are doing is they're writing the book and they're almost tripping over the fact or accidentally discovering that their book can really generate them business and develop training.
Yeah.
So what are sort of, 3 or 4 tips that you can suggest to people to think of when they've written their book and to then develop, as you say, world-class training programs?
Cool. I think the biggest tip is to just always deliver the same message. Like, your message remains constant. It's like, I'm working with a cool guy named Cyril Pepion at the moment, and Cyril has a program that's called Work Smarter, Live Better. Yep. He trains amazing clients. He has a little ecosystem. So he has a book.
Yep.
He has a program that he trains to leaders in corporate. And then he has a program that he trains to teams in corporate, which is a more automated program. And he does speeches, right? And he has a training team who also goes and trains for him. He travels globally to do this. His book and his leadership program and his team program and his speech delivers on exactly the same thing.
Right.
It's just, in a speech, he has 45 minutes. In a 2-day workshop, he has 16 hours. In a book, he has 200 words. And he has to choose the right amount of information at the right logical level to deliver in the medium and the framework that he has. But it's exactly the same thing. Yeah.
So it's because when that's a very similar model, I guess, to my business when I'm talking about culture. And the way I actually talk about it is I go, interesting that I've made like even as I'm describing it, I've gone,
of course,
I got a 45-minute keynote. I can give you that much.
Yeah.
Right. But in a 2-hour presentation, I can give you that much.
Yep.
In a 1 day, I can give you that much, and in a 4-day, I can give you. It's the same information, just flowing. At greater depths. That's kind of what you're saying.
Yeah, I love that you just drew me a model because
I know.
You this is something really powerful. I explained something and you went, "Is this it?" And I went, "That's exactly it."
Yeah. So that's so simple.
What is interesting is you didn't even have to write the words in.
Yeah.
You literally drew a triangle and it just explains them. And it's like, with love, Brett, it's a shit triangle. But I know exactly what you're talking about. It's fine. Yeah. It's perfect. I go, yep. And when you draw your model and when you get this response, that's it.
Yeah.
You've done it perfectly.
Now, do you think that, is it possible that this could be basically a model for each chapter? Like, is that the way people would develop training programs out of it? So if you've got, 12 chapters, could you take this kind of idea and go, okay, for all 12 you know, like if Cyril's got something on leadership and there's 12 elements of leadership, is it like, okay, this is, you know, okay, we're going to work on number 4 now, which is communication. There's a high level version of it. There's a deeper level version. Like, is that the way people develop programs out of their book?
Yeah, I think about it like this. When you're explaining something, it's always in context. Then there's like concepts.
Yep.
Principles, processes, and practices.
Right. Okay.
Right.
So we've got concepts.
Yeah.
Principles.
Yep. Processes.
Yep.
And practices.
Right.
Principles. I'd say principles, LES, like rules of engagement versus people who run a school. I'm just giving you some shit.
Yeah. I'm the world's worst speller, so
just outsource that.
Yeah. So is it rough? It's roughly in that order.
Yeah, and depending on how much time I have, I will go. Now you can go broad or you can go deep.
Right.
So what I might do is run a speech where I just sort of touch across a series of concepts. Or I might run a workshop where I just do one concept and principle, process, practice. Yeah. So I have to choose how you know, broad and how deep that I go. I might go, I'm just going to touch 2 concepts. You know, in a 45-minute speech, I might go 1 concept or 3 concepts, 5 principles. That's it. Yeah. No practice.
So does this align? I mean, does this almost accidentally align to this?
The more time you have, the more practice you'll go. No, not necessarily. Because sometimes, like loosely, but sometimes someone might come in and they say, we need a 1.5 hour workshop to upgrade in this one area.
Yeah, gotcha.
And I'll just go concept, 3 principles, 3 processes, 5 practices. Bang. Yeah.
And so, and in terms of the models being maps, at what point do they come in to it? Do they only come in at this point here, or are you thinking models right at the concept, right, all the way down?
Models all the way down. Because if you've got a star, you zoom in on the star and there's a new model. And if you zoom in on that, there's a new model.
Yeah, gotcha.
It's a taxonomy of models.
Right. So really, the authors shouldn't be afraid about just going with concepts as some sort of shape or model or idea that then they can go deep on.
Draw everything.
Right. Yeah. And include those drawings in your book.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So let's start to wrap this sucker up, because otherwise,
I mean, don't just make a picture book is what I'm saying. Like, it's not a picture book. Like, do some writing.
Put some words to it.
That's right.
But if you want to, what I like is if you want to add an extra 1,000 words of understanding, draw a model.
Yeah.
Without adding the extra words.
Yeah.
Do you think there's benefit? I've tried recently drawing my model and then talking my model out.
Yeah.
As the beginning of my book. Are you seeing many people do that?
More people?
Yeah. Like, does that system sort of stand up to?
I think it's good. It's a really nice entry point. I mean, every model's only going to give you so, like, I think drawing a model builds attention span.
Yeah, right.
Because you're basically showing people a bunch of empty boxes. You go, hey, I've got all of these cool boxes. And people go, oh, what's in the box?
Yeah. Right? And I'll show you how to fill each one of them.
That's right. Yeah. So you're setting up storage containers for information. So I think that's a cool idea. But that model will only get you so far, because then there'll be boxes in boxes. Yeah.
Then I think of when you say if your model is a drawer, you open it up and there's a lot of compartments in that drawer potentially.
Yeah. There's more storage. Yeah. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. So let's start to wrap this up. And I guess if you've worked with a few people who are authors and who are, unpacking all that, if there were 3 things that you wanted all of us authors to get clear in our head and walk away going, just know these 3 things and life will be better for you as an author, what are those 3 things?
Okay. The first thing is write your book for Josh. Josh can't make pictures in his head. Josh was born with 0 imagination. It's all black up here, right? Yeah. I can't draw it for myself. Draw it for me.
Right.
That's the first thing.
Right.
Number 1.
Every reader needs that.
Assume that every reader is black upstairs.
Yep.
Right? Here's the second thing. if they're not black upstairs and you don't tell them how to store stuff, they'll figure it out for themselves and it will be a disaster. Right.
Much like a 7-year-old putting the butter in the oven,
right? So, yeah, step number 1, design as if the person can't create a system for themselves. Design number 2, if they do create a system, it's going to be terrible. Number 3 is just constantly be setting up storage containers and then filling it up with your information. Then build a new set of storage containers and fill it up with information. And just draw it, because drawing's fun. If you draw pictures, it instantly makes people 8 years old.
Right.
And people who are 8 learn like this. People who are adults learn like this.
Yeah.
You want the 8-year-old, trust me.
Yeah. And they'll soak it up much more and be more fun about it.
Yep.
Yeah. Fantastic. Mate, thank you so much for spending the time with us today. It's been fun. Now, I know we're talking metaphors a little bit down the track as well, which is going to be a fun conversation because I guess I think of all of this as storytelling devices.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, my passion really is how do we take all that stuff up in your head and tell those stories as persuasively as possible. So looking forward to talking about metaphors.
Oh, that'll be fun. It gets weird when we talk about metaphors, but it's great fun.
Oh, yeah. Just the snippets of conversations I've had with you about metaphors is already been magical. So a whole hour of it would be cool.
This has been fun. Thank you for hanging out.
Yeah, no, thank you for making the time. Now, one of the things I think you've got this really cool download that guys can come and get.
Oh, yeah, cool.
You know what I'm thinking?
Earlier I drew the High Model 5, which, you know, spectrum, equation, chunking, blah, 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 blah. If you go to my website, www.rockstartrainers.com, I'm not the rockstar trainer. I help people become rockstar trainers. You can just click
rockstar written all over you, dude.
Rockstar. You can just click the link, and I've got a great little download that goes into a few extra levels of details, and it will show you the 18 most common models used, and it maps them to the High Model 5. So it's a really awesome download.
So I'll put that link below the video so that it's all there. They can go and check it out and get to know Rockstar Josh just a little bit better.
Cool.
All right, mate. Thank you so much for this afternoon.
No worries. Pleasure.